Well, the holiday season is one of the busiest times of year for scammers. That's why AARP Fraud Watch Network is teaming up with organizations throughout the state to keep you safe. Joining us today is Commissioner Jonathan Harris from the State Department of Consumer Protection and Howard Schwartz, the Executive Communications Director with the Better Business Bureau. Nice to have you both here.
Thanks for having us.
So, Howard, what are we seeing this time of year in terms of scams?
There's some seasonal scams, and at this time of year, because we're spending so much time online, there are fake websites, there are websites that offer high-end luxury goods for unreasonably low prices. And every year, Better Business Bureau hears from consumers who have either received little or nothing, or have become the victims of credit card fraud. The other thing we have to watch out for is called phishing, and that's when somebody accesses your personal information by hacking into your computer and destroying or taking your files. And the way that happens is usually through email. So you might receive an email card, for example, a seasonal greeting card that has a link that will download some nasty software. And typically at this time of year, we see a spike in phishing emails from the delivery companies, such as FedEx, UPS, and even the United States Postal Service. So we've got to be very careful about what we click. And with these delivery scams, they'll want you to click on a link or open up an attachment, supposedly to track a shipment that's not coming.
Wow, that could really get people, though. I mean, especially this time of year.
Yes.
Commissioner, how do you spot a scam?
Well, you always have to do your homework with any transaction. So what my wife always says to me, no matter what receipt it is, restaurant, store, check it for accuracy. Before you leave the establishment, make sure that those charges are yours. It's good to periodically check your bank statements every day or so, at least every week, to make sure that the transactions there are legit, yours. And know who you're dealing with. So as Howard said, don't just click on a link in an email. Type in a web address. Make sure that you're getting to the right place. By the same token, use some caution when dealing with Craigslist or classified ads, because you really don't necessarily know who's on the other end of the transaction. And finally, use a credit card, not a debit card, because you want to make sure you have the maximum amount of fraud protection.
Howard, you've been saying this for as long as I know you. Always use that instead, not using the debit card.
Well, especially after the data breaches, when we found out that people's bank accounts are being emptied because of that. And one of the other issues really that we see at this time of year is charity fraud. We want to be generous, but we get all sorts of solicitations by telephone, by email, even in the mail itself. The problem with telephone solicitations is you're not really sure who's contacting you. So even though it may be a legitimate charity, we recommend that you be proactive. Find the charity that you want to give to, pay by check or by credit card if you can, avoid wiring money or giving a cashier's check. Those are big red signs, red flags. And also you want to find out what percentage of your donation is actually going to the charity itself rather than administration. And that's a biggie.
And probably a little bit of common sense plays into this. If it's too good to be true,
chances
are it's not legitimate.
That's what we tell people. That mantra is very important.
Sure. So what do we do if we're scammed, Commissioner?
You basically act. You want to file a report with the police. You want to report it to your credit card company, if you've used that credit card, of course, and report it to the credit rating agencies. There are 3 of them. Also file a complaint with the Department of Consumer Protection. And, make sure that that you gather all the evidence, because you want to have a paper trail of not only the transaction so you can prove things, but also keep a record of who you have spoken to, letters you might have written to try to make it better. So act.
And in your experience, do people get their money back, or is it gone most of the time?
People can get their money back, especially with a credit card. There are ways to do that, but you have to be diligent. It's not a lot of work, but you got to do it consistently.
Sure. And of course, Howard, you have a lot of tips on your website, Better Business Bureau?
We do, bbb.org/Connecticut.
Great. And it's not just seniors that are targeted with this.
No, the fraudsters, the hucksters, they will go after anybody, any angle they have. Fraud's like water. It'll seep into any crack, and it will not only do damage up front, but will leave damage behind that you have to clean up. So if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
If someone is pressuring you to act, take a deep breath, do your homework before acting.
Sure. Very good advice this holiday season. And have you started shopping yet?
A little bit.
You have. Howard, how about you?
I'm pleading the 5th.
Okay, fair enough. Gentlemen, thanks
I've been
again.
thinking about it.
You've been thinking about it. That's a good start. All right, for more info, you can log on to aarp.org/CT. Here's to safe holiday shopping, everyone.